Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. 1 1 1 1 1 1. All right, it is a little bit past 6 p.m. here on Tuesday, May the 26th, 2020. And we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Murphysboro City Council to order. At this time, I will rise here in the council chambers and lead us all in an invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you once again for this opportunity to come together as a city council and as city staff and concerned residents to address the problems that we face as a community and celebrate the things that we have accomplished. We would just pray this evening that you would continue to guide our hands and our thoughts. We particularly pray for those people who have been impacted by this COVID-19 epidemic, whether it be working in the front lines or having lost family members, whatever the case may be, Lord, just be close with them. We pray all these things in your holy name. Amen. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes.
Here.
Alderman Curry-Witzman.
Here.
Alderman Brown. Alderman Brown. Alderman Pearson.
Here.
Alderman McComb.
Here.
Alderman Urvis.
Here.
Alderman Bratton.
Here.
Alderman Bastian. Alderman Campos.
Here.
Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Here. And just so everyone knows, here in the council chamber, we have Clerk Hunziker, Chief McBride, and Chief Ellenmeyer. With that being said, we get into our items on the agenda tonight. Up first, we have the consideration of council minutes from May the 12th. And I'd entertain any questions or amendments to the minutes at this time. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
I heard a motion from Mr. McComb and a second from Mr. Bratton. As I know sometimes this seems maybe unnecessary, but for consistency's sake, I'm going to again call for roll call votes throughout the course of this evening's meeting just to help for minute-taking concerns. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Curry-Witzman.
Yes.
Alderman Brown. Alderman Pearson.
Yes.
Alderman McComb.
Yes.
Alderman Urvis.
Yes.
Alderman Bratton.
Yes.
Alderman Campos.
Yes.
Alderman Pittman.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. That takes us to our consideration of accounts payable registers. We have registered 929 and we have registered 930. And I would entertain any questions on the bills at this time.
This is Alderman Bratton. I only have one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Bratton.
On register 930, page 6. From New Way Concrete Forms, the ADA panels, are those the ones that we use, or are we furnishing those for Walnut Street?
I do not know the answer to that. Perhaps Mr. Mills could help inform us.
That's something that we ordered just to have in our stock for the sidewalks that we do.
Yeah, but I thought that's good enough. Thank you. That's the only question I had.
Thank you, Alderman Bratton. Are there any other questions on the accounts payable registers?
Alderman Pearson here on the 930, page 7.
is that for sidewalks replacing or what, or is that the state highway or whatever? There's a lot of concrete there. I was wondering what it was for.
I believe that is the concrete for the sidewalks being replaced under the grant that Representative Bryant got for the city. I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure about that.
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. I was just curious. That's all I have.
Ms. Ridley, can you confirm what I just said is true?
No, that is sidewalks that the street department is doing.
Okay, so that is outside the scope of the grant work that's going on?
Correct.
Okay. Darren Mills, are these parts of sidewalks that have been sort of in line as a part of the general sidewalk program?
Yes, it is. Some of it is where we have taken the trees down and broke some sidewalk, and others are just, that were some pretty poor spots that we chose to fix before somebody got hurt on.
All right, and is this under a budgeted part of your annual budget for the street department, or just something additional that you identified as a concern?
I was able to, they're all going under a budgeted item that we had concrete for, so.
All right, very good. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Any other questions on the accounts payable registers?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Alderman Bratton seconds the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes,
Yes.
Alderman Curry Whitson,
Yes.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Alderman Pearson,
Yes.
Alderman McCollum,
Yes.
Alderman Urbis,
Yes.
Alderman Bratton.
Yes.
Alderman Campos,
Yes.
Alderman Pittman.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. That takes us into our regular committee and commission reports. Up first, we have Budget and Finance chaired by Mr. W.J. Pittman. W.J.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no items under old business. Under new business, we have presentation of financial reports by Scott Evans, Section Officer. Mr. Evans, you with us tonight?
I am. Thank you, Alderman Pittman. Just have a couple of short reports tonight. The first one, which I think is quite important to look at, is the monthly income tax receipts vouchers. And if you notice, that is substantially lower than it was this time last year. And I guess you could say that that is a COVID-19 indirect related event. Due to the fact that the state of Illinois, just like the IRS, pushed the filing deadline back for not only filing the 2019 taxes, but also for the first deadline for the quarterly estimates of 2020. They just didn't receive the volume of money in April that they normally would. So as you can see, it's half of what we got this time last year. That should rectify itself in a couple months. Because, as I said, the deadline is July 15th. Therefore, late filers, as well as people filing their first quarterly estimates, will have paid most of that money by then. So, therefore, we should get our proportionate share. So, we hope that's going to be the case, and that there's not more going on, but I think that can be explained mostly by that. And then the other report that I wanted to let you have a look at tonight was the schedule of loan balances, just to keep you up to date on where we are with what the city owes. So as of the end of May, we owe $5,625 on the backhoe loan still, which is a few more months of that's going to be paid off, 4 more months. And of course, we just started the dump truck loan last year, so we have 29 payments to go on that, and the balance of that is $39,045. So the two general fund loans at this point are $44,670. Then the next page, of course, shows the current balance of the water sewer debt. And of course, we have the Walnut Street water line replacement. That balance after the May payment is down to $1,106,000 and change. And so there are 29 more semi-annual payments of that to go, approximately 14 years. And of course, the big one is the wastewater treatment plant loan. We still owe $12,399,000 on that, and there's 32 more semi-annual payments because, of course, that one started later than the first one. So anyway, we have total indebtedness for the water department of $13,506,000 at this point. Certainly still a large number, but it's going down. And even on this schedule, you can look and see that we've already put in several $1 million of equity on these loans, in addition to the equity we were able to put into the sewer plant on our own to begin with. So I think that was a good thing that we didn't have to finance that project 100% and still be having an even higher loan balance. So anyway, that's the two reports I had tonight. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Scott. That's the only item under new business. Is there any public comment under budget and finance?
WJ, Mayor
Hearing no
Stevens.
public. Go ahead, Mayor.
I just wanted to share a bit of information with the council that may yield some interesting information, and that's that I found out today that there is a portal through mytax.gov, which is one of the web-based services through the state that lets us see what the money coming back from the state on sales tax vouchers are. And there is a report that will show what the individual businesses throughout town are paying to the state in sales tax receipts, and we hope that we'll be able to see that here in the next month or so. It really won't change anything largely budgetarily, but I think will be interesting information, and I'll be sure to share that with the council when we get it. That's all.
Thank you, Mayor. Hearing no public comment, we can move out of budget and finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pittman. That takes us to Building and Grounds, chaired by Mr. Gary McComb. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business, no new business. Do we have any public comment on Building and Grounds? Hearing none, Mayor, we can move on.
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate that. That takes us to Community Relations, chaired by Mr. John Irvis. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business. One item of new business, the citywide cleanup. There's a flyer in our material. June 5th and 6th.
Well, has anybody seen about getting money from the other people to help us with this cleanup?
Gary, I know I have not done that. I think in the past, Sandra Ripley may have been tasked with reaching out to those people. Sandra, have we had any communication that you know of?
I have not. Gary usually takes care of that.
Well, that's what I want to make sure of. I'll try to get by there tomorrow.
Thank you for that, Gary. I appreciate your efforts and the cleanup over the years.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Alderman Irvis.
Yes, Ms. Hughes?
I wonder if I could say something if we're done with the annual cleanup information.
Sure, I think John's still on the line. Go ahead.
Okay. You know, we have this citywide texting thing that we have had for several years. I think that they might be underutilizing that for amount of money that we pay. I know that we can't vote on anything on this, but it maybe something we want on the, agenda next month, because we could perhaps start some kind of campaign to get more people involved with that. And things like citywide cleanup could even go on that. Or the bars and restaurants are opening for outdoor things. I'm questioning if we couldn't utilize that better than what we do or what we pay for it. And also, we may want to look into a co-sponsor with that.
Alderman Hughes, just so I'm sure, are you talking about the text messaging service?
The citywide text messaging service, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood, because at the start of that, it was a little bit hard to understand. I don't think it was just the phone echoing a little bit.
I'm sorry, should I take you off speaker?
It may help, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, that may help you. The citywide texting, and we only utilize that really for boil orders, and our other things that could be emergent. But I wonder if we couldn't use it for some things that are just informational. I don't want to overutilize it because people will stop reading it if you do. But things like the citywide cleanup, everybody's been in their houses for so long with this COVID-19 dilemma that we're in, and I wonder if things like when places are opening and what places are opening are informational things about where they can get information about COVID-19. There's a lot of people that don't have Facebook that might be interested in those kind of things.
I think that's a good idea, and one of the things I need to do is I need to train a couple of folks on how to use that, because right now I'm the only person.
You are the only one. Yeah, I knew that. And you have enough on your plate without having to deal with that. We have to pay for it. We may as well be utilizing it without you having to. That doesn't mean you won't be involved. It only means that when there's a boil order, there's no reason Catherine can't do that.
Yes, I agree.
Take it off of your plate.
I agree. I think that's a good idea, and I will get with Sandra and Catherine and train them. Should have been done a long time ago. It's just one of those things that.
Well, I think it just kind of got slipped away somewhere around, and I don't, like I said, I would prefer not to overutilize it because people stop reading text messages when you get one 3 times a day. Don't get me wrong, but on different things like this, that if it could be used informational things for the city or even the county. That first year we had a co-sponsor with SIH. They may be interested in co-sponsoring that yet again, and they could put information on it about COVID-19, for example.
Yeah, definitely, all good ideas, and I think we'll do our best to get those implemented and get some things cross-trained there.
Okay. And you don't think that this is anything that needs to be voted on, do you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then we won't put it on next month's agenda. I just wanted to bring it to our attention because we're paying a significant amount of money for not much use, really. And I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was cut off for a minute. Are we public comment, or is that?
I believe.
Close community relations.
I believe we are at public comment, yes.
All right, and any other public comment? If not, we can move on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Urbis. That takes us to public improvement, chaired by Alderman Mike Bastian. Mr. Bastian, have you joined the call at this time? It doesn't sound as if he has. I will go through these items. Under public improvement, we have no old business. We don't have any new business. Is there any public comment under items of public improvement? Hearing none, we can come out of public improvement and go to public works, chaired by Mr. Dan Bratton. Dan?
Okay. Under old business, we have the update on the railroad cleanup and the damage to Shoemaker Drive. And I think there was something in here in your packet, for the, bituminous, milling it up and then replacing it 2.5 inches thick at a cost of $69,276.77. I went down and looked again today. I didn't really see all that much damage. I don't know how. I mean, does somebody know how we're going to collect this money from the contractor? But, it was pointed out to me today by the mayor that we don't have pictures before. And, I'd just like to have some comment on that from the rest of the council and mayor, please.
Well, I would just say that I did have a conversation with Alderman Bratton earlier this morning, and while I think the road likely was not made any better by their project, at the same time, I don't know how to hold them to a repair of this size, because as I mentioned, we don't have photos from before. I think that this is a high traffic area that generally we ought to try to think about resurfacing, because it is a high traffic area, but other than that, I don't know really how to move forward with it.
Do we have any other comments?
This is Alderman Urbis, and I guess I'm the one that brought it up to begin with. I didn't take any pictures, but I recall there was just one little section that was starting to break up before they started, and now it's pretty widespread around there. I mean, I think it's worth at least a letter or something to them to see what they're. I'm sure they're spending a lot of money on that already. It's pretty clear that the equipment that they're driving on there is much heavier than normal traffic would be. But anyway, that's my thought.
Ms. Ripley, would you please get a reminder to me or help me draft a letter sending to them saying that we believe that, their project may have caused some damage to area in and around Shoemaker Drive, and we have gotten some estimates, and I mean, it of course wouldn't hurt at all to send that letter officially and formally and see what they say back.
I will make a note of that.
I was thinking the same thing. This is Gloria. There is no wrong on telling them that how much that we have on the street where they're working at, and we have an estimate of repairing the street for this amount of money, and let them see what they say.
I will certainly do that, and we'll move forward with that.
Okay. Is there any other comments from the council? If not, we'll go to new business. Consideration of oil and chip program for 2020, which was also included in your packet. I didn't go back and look, but did we budget for this?
Mr. Evans, are you on the line? Do you want to answer that question?
Well, this would be, I believe, part of the 2020 resolution, which would have been part of the original budget. Maybe Ms. Ripley can confirm that or deny that.
It is in our citywide budget, but as far as it is not on the general resolution for motor fuel funds, so that it would require a passing of a new resolution.
Right. Okay. And the other question I had, and Harold, you can probably, Mr. Sheffer, you can probably chime in on this. From 7th Street, on 7th Street from Illinois Avenue to the Industrial Park Road. That's probably half of the square yards on this first page, and over half of that's going to be tore up, hopefully in the spring, correct?
Mr. Sheffer, are you still on the line?
I
I think one of those is 7th Street Blue. And of course, I know Bill put this together, and it's from some maps that somebody had given us. But yeah, I totally agree. I don't think I'd waste any money doing. I honestly didn't even catch that. I don't think I would spend any money on that section there.
This is Mayor Stevens. I just wanted to express a couple of concerns. One of which is that I realize that the coronavirus is not really, we don't know yet just what kind of impact it's going to have, but I am sure that people have not been buying as much gasoline as they would have been buying otherwise. I don't know how much of a reduction in motor fuel funds that's going to bring in, but you know, with the amount of money we have dedicated to 7th Street, mentioning 7th Street just a moment ago, and a potential shortfall in motor fuel money, I think those are things we need to be thinking about. Scott, can you remind me how often we get those reports in on motor fuel money?
Well, of course, our allotment that we get every month is typically somewhere between $17,000 to $25,000, and we have received one allotment of this new grant, so-called grant money, through the Build Illinois program. I think it's called, of $87,000. But we still have the lion's share of the 7th Street project to go yet. We've spent quite a bit of money already, but nowhere near what we will spend on the project as a whole. So there's still probably close to $400,000 that will need to come out of the city's pocket when that project is all done. And we have about, with the $87,000 we just got, we have about a little over $800,000 in the bank for motor fuel. So, we may have $300,000 of money that could be used for something, but I do feel that until we know a little more about concreteness of our monthly allotment, maybe in a few months, maybe we should wait and see.
Do we have any more comments on this? I feel exactly the way Scott does. I think that we'll find out where the money shakes out and we can make a decision, but I would be on hold.
It's all about Pearson.
Yes.
I believe we should wait probably until fall to decide what we're going to do with this. None of this is all that important now. I think we should wait until we see how the money works out. Maybe we can do it next year instead of this year also.
This is Alderman Hughes, I agree.
Danny, I got a question for Harold.
Okay.
We're talking about, I meant to bring this up on our old business. We're talking about the road into the sewer plant. They keep ordering around the pond, and that road don't get underwater that much. How come we don't have the big culverts under the main road so we can work on that, Harold?
Well, I've been talking to them, and I think it's time we probably need to sit down and have a meeting with them. I've urged them strongly to get started on the other end. I know that we keep hearing about the pond. Of course, it's raining about every other day right now, so I know at the beginning of this project, that area was wet for a while. So, I think at this time we just need to sit down with them and have a meeting, and whoever from the city wants to be there. I don't disagree that it should be up on the other end working, and I think they're trying to get out of whatever is wet right now, and it's obviously the plan that they got is not working.
They should already have our big culverts under that road when they had a chance. So that's the main part we want to get done first, because that pond where the pond is don't always get underwater.
Well, the pond has water, it's always wet there. The last thing we talked to them about was the price on trying to lower the, I think that's a 15-inch culvert on that end. The lower that at that end and, you know, forget about trying to save that pond, just go ahead and drain it and, you know, there just doesn't need to be a pond there.
I don't think those people wanna keep the pond.
Well, they do, that was her original discussion with us, that she would like to keep the pond, keep some part of the pond if at all possible, so obviously it doesn't appear to be something that's gonna work out. Mr. Shepherd, if you could try to get some kind of a meeting set up and let me know, and if anybody else also wants to attend that meeting, you can let me know between now and whenever Harold gets a hold of me, because he'll have to get a hold of the contractor. But I think it's time we have a sit down meeting.
I agree with that completely, just for the record. I think that, at this point, they've proven themselves almost to be unqualified to bid future projects. It's, been pretty disappointing. I can barely nail two boards together, and I could have figured out by now I need to start on the other end of that road. And so, I may not be able to attend the meeting, but Danny, just pass along that quote to them, tell them it's for me.
Okay, I sure will. And like I say, anybody that wants to attend that meeting, let me know, as soon as you can, and then we'll go from there. And
Alderman Thone would like to be there too, Danny.
well, I don't know if I want you there or not. All right. I guess that the consideration of the oil and chip program for 2020, for lack of a motion to do that, will fail. And is there any public comment? Anybody who's tuned in? If not, we can come out of Public Works, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton. That takes us to the Public Safety, chaired by Mr. Russell Brown. Russell?
Yeah, we got one thing on the old business, discussions on the Gillenberg property. Have you heard anything?
I know that the reports that were requested by the Summers family via their FOIA requests have been provided, and that is all I know, but I think that those reports will give all the parties the information they need to move forward. So hopefully that will kind of break that impasse and get things moving along. Chief, do you want to speak to this next?
Or just leave it on the
Do you
agenda
want
for
to
next
speak to
meeting?
this next item? If they have any questions. They probably will, so you might want to.
That was the only thing on the old business. The new business, consideration of purchase of a new 2020 Dodge Durango.
Chief Ellermeyer is here with us. Chief, do you want to speak to this agenda item?
Yes, it was a budgeted item for 2020. It was ordered at the beginning of November. Should be in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
And what is the cost on it? Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here.
28,297.
28,297. Is this
Is that
one?
set up and have,
No.
They were wanting to know if this was equipped, essentially.
No, I've actually, because we got the last Durango that was ordered for last year, it was prolonged to the end of the year and got it. So what I did is ordered the equipment for both of them at the same time and received the equipment about 2 months ago. So I've already got everything that needs paid for.
Okay.
And I paid for it out of the seized assets, paid for the equipment.
All right.
Mayor, this is Alderman Key.
Yes.
Is this a chief asset money?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion, this Alderman Bratton, I make a motion we purchase the 2020 Dodge Durango, especially since Dodge's gonna be here in 2 weeks.
I'll second
I
that.
second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Curtis.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Pearson. Alderman McComb.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right. Crashed and burned. Try again.
Pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash.
All right, this is Mayor Stevens rejoining the call. I don't know how many votes Clerk Hunziker recorded for Gary's vote, but I think just one. So I think we're back in order now. So we were in the vote on the purchase of the Dodge Durango, and I will turn it back over to Clerk Hunziker to pick up where she would have been after Alderman McComb.
Alderman Urbis,
Yes.
Alderman Bratton,
Yes.
Alderman Campos,
Yes.
Alderman Pitt.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries.
We don't have anything else on the business, any public comments?
Russell Brown, this is Alderman Bratton. I wonder if we could have somebody, if Joey Summers could come to get on the line the next meeting and kind of explain this to us, what's going on.
Why not?
I have been in contact with Joe throughout the course of this. I'm happy to share the call-in information and let him know that we'd like to get an update from him, or if he wants to.
Okay, that's fine.
Written update, I'll give him those options.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if nothing else, we'll come out of public safety.
Thank you, Alderman Brown. That takes us to personnel chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business, no new business right now. Is there any public comments, personnel? Hearing none, I guess we can come out of it now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hughes. I appreciate that. That takes us to the mayor's report. That first up is an update on the Rubel flooding issue, which has been an ongoing agenda item. I would be surprised if we had anything to report there, but I will ask Mr. Shepard if we do.
No, I have not heard back. I did hear back from Dave Hancock again, and really all we need from him is just an easement for ingress, egress. So we are kind of working with him, but the other two property owners I've not heard back from.
I guess I would ask Mr. Blake also if he has anything to add, because I know that our attorney's office has played a role in that communication.
We do not have any further information, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. If there's no other comment on that particular agenda item, we can go into the review and discussion of billboard ordinances. You have a number of them that are included in your packet from the city of Carbondale, Mount Vernon, Murphysboro, and Peoria. Those are all included here for your review. Mr. Bratton, I know you've had some communication with the person wanting to do this development. Do you want to lead this conversation?
I'd be glad to pass on what I know. gentleman, wants to put a billboard up, on 013, which is in the city limits there that, Cliff Mills owns. He's, contacted a local dirt contractor, Sam Berkey, and Sam, I think, plan on getting to do the job. I know that he's talked to Mr. Harold Shepard with JT Blankenship to do some, work for him on that. He wants to develop it, and then he works with 5 or 6 different developers, and he'll sell off to them, but he does want to put up a billboard. I think, I realize that it's got to go to the Board of Appeals unless we just change this period on our own, that we can. But I think it's something we really need to do. And, I spoke to the mayor about that a little bit this morning, and if we do decide to pass it, which hopefully we will, and, I will contact the person, or if the mayor wants to, or someone else, that's fine, and let them know that what they need to do is go to file with the Board of Appeals, but I will go talk to, or someone needs to talk to Mr. Greiter in the morning, not in the afternoon, to get a hold of him and let him be in on this thing to where the person who wanted to put this up for him still there, that he can get a hold of him and they can file for an exemption or whatever we do. That's my extent.
I guess one thing I wanted to say is that I looked at our existing ordinance, and it says that Murphysboro does allow for billboards in the industrial district. I know that we may only have a limited industrial district, but some of the things that are said here is that they can't be more than 20 feet above the ground. They can't exceed 300 square feet, which is like a 20 by 15 size sign. And they can't be any closer than 500 feet from any other billboard. Those are the types of things that are contemplated in some of these other ordinances as well. And I think that we would be wise to adopt some regulations as a part of this, because I want to help development, but to some extent, I think that there is such thing as too many billboards. And I would just say that we need to make sure that what we do isn't outside of the bounds of what we would, at the end result, say, well, maybe we didn't do enough to limit those. Richard Blake, you did some research on this. Would you speak to the issue, please?
Yes, I will, Mayor. Just getting to zoning, where this is addressed and where we'll have to make amendments to our city code is to the zoning. Where Cliff Mills property is currently, that's B2. We have B2 in 3 different areas in the city. We're going to allow billboards in B2. It could be allowed anywhere in the B2 in accordance with whatever standards the city is going to establish. Let me just give you a rundown real quick of what our B2 is. This is not something where we can just pick and choose who gets one and who doesn't. We can't tell this individual who wants to buy Cliff Mills property, he gets one, and then tell Chris Chrysler he gets one, and tell everybody else in B2, no, you don't get one. Zoning, and if anyone meets the requirements, they're entitled to have one. Where we have B2 right now is from the new motel development going east on 13 out to the end of our city limits, which is now Cliff Mills property on the other side of Country Club Road by Walmart. Then it's running from the motel property north on 127. Most of this is on the east side of the road up to Industrial Park Road. We have some on the west side of 127, and some of it, if you travel on 127, it is industrial now, where somebody could put up a billboard if they, in meeting the requirements. One area where I really doubt that anybody wants a billboard is we have a B2 area that begins about in the vicinity, it's on North 14th Street, between North 14th Street and North 7th Street, we've got an area that's B2 that would begin in the area where there was the old Lee's Food Mart. It's now at Cinnamon Lane Forest up to Suburban Heights subdivision, B2 on the east side of North 14th Street. And I really doubt anybody would want a billboard in that area. So I think it's, very important that we look at these standards and decide if there are going to be billboards, that we decide what the standards are going to be, so there's something to go by, and we don't have billboards just lined up everywhere we have it, the B2 district. If you look at what I provided, of course, the mayor just went over what Murphysboro does. Urbandale just prohibits billboards. Mount Vernon and Peoria, I included both of those. They basically allow billboards in their commercial and industrial districts as what we call a special use permit. They have, similar to what we do in the industrial zone, they have distances between different billboards. They have limits on what the square footage of billboards can be. They have limits on how close they can be to a residential district, which prevents billboards just from being anywhere anybody would want to put one. I think I don't know if a committee would want to do this, but I think it would be important that I don't know a whole lot about billboards to know what is the proper square footage of a billboard and what they're really doing now. But I think it's important that, if there were to be maybe a committee could address this, that's just a suggestion, but we sit down and put forth some good standards, and billboards are going to be allowed if that's what the city council wants to do. Once we do have those standards set, procedurally what has to be done is we have to amend our city code, our zoning code within our city code, which would make which would allow billboards to be district. That procedure first requires a hearing before the zoning board of appeals, which would have to be a newspaper publication at least 15 days prior to that hearing. If the zoning board of appeals approves making that amendment first, then it would come back to the city council at the city council's next meeting to approve amending the city zoning code. Now, if this is going to be treated as a special use by the city, then for each individual owner want to have a billboard on their property, then they would have to make application to Eric as the zoning administrator, and then each individual application as a special use would then go to the zoning board of appeals for approval to make sure it meets all of the requirements that the city set forth, and also to look at the application to see if there may be any unique characteristics of that particular property. They could add any certain special conditions that would apply to that particular property and allowing a billboard there. Now, and of course that requires another hearing, which means there's going to be a notice of hearing published in the paper. And when for each individual property involved, then there would be a notice sent to every individual landowner who is adjacent to that property. Now that process, though, does not come back to the city council. It's just the zoning board of appeals that makes that decision in issuing a special use permit. That's the basic procedure. Of course, in looking at this, once the billboard companies that would like to put one on Mr. Driver's property and would like to put one on Mr. Mill's property, they may be, here's our spacing, and they may look to fill up all of our space real quick with billboards. So I think it's important that you figure out just what standards there's going to be, so we just not have billboards everywhere in areas that we probably don't want them. But hopefully that's kind of clear. If anybody has questions, go ahead and ask those up.
Thank you, Mr. Blake, for that. I would open it up to the city council for any response or questions in regard to that.
Alderman Pierce question here. Richard, the area between, that we have on New 13 from Murphysboro out to our edge of our city limits,
Yes.
isn't most of that state property? Wouldn't they govern who put billboards on there, or they didn't?
They could not be in the state right of way. We would just decide outside of the state right of way where they could be.
Okay.
Yeah, they would not regulate
They could not,
where.
they could not stop us from putting one if it was on, off of the state right of way.
As long as it's outside of the state right of way on private property.
I have one other question for Danny. Danny, has this gentleman bought this property already?
Well, I do not think he's bought it. I think he's waiting to find out if he's gonna be able to get a billboard up.
No, he is not bought it yet. I was sort of in favor of him having a billboard, though Richard gave me all the places where they could put one. And they could, put a billboard right on the edge of your subdivision, according to the way the way we are zone B2. So I think I've changed my mind on allowing billboards, but if this guy has 7 or 8 or whatever different companies that he's dealing with to divide this property, it seems to me like he wouldn't need a billboard anyway. I can't see what a billboard would do for him on that particular corner.
Well, I assume that after he develops this and then sells it off to developers, that he wants to keep the sign for income.
Okay.
I think it's important to remember that the billboard industry is a very lucrative one, especially with digital signage. I mean, it's a $12 billion a year industry last year, and because you don't have to pay somebody to produce a new placard to put up like you used to have back when, with lamps that pointed up toward the sky, these digital signs, you can just essentially rotate 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different businesses on there through keystrokes, and it goes up there. So the startup costs of these billboards are a little bit higher now, but the long-term profit is higher also because of that. And I sort of wondered, as I thought about this today, if I know it would be one of those digital signs at that intersection, and I don't know, of course, I don't want to be a person that talks about liability all the time. Lord knows I probably ought to worry about it more, but Richard Blake does a LED lit sign like that at an intersection. If we were to approve that, these are all over the country, so surely not. But we wouldn't be liable if somebody got a wreck there and said, well, I was distracted by this sign or something.
Well, we already do have certain, and that's something that's often addressed by zoning codes, is signs that could be distracted. I really wouldn't see that, and it's, unless it's something blocking the view or something just way out there distracted.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I would add that sign will require an IDOT permit, even though it's not on their right of way.
I wondered about that. Okay, thank you for that clarification, Harold. Well,
That's all I'm nervous. I mean, it's not something that's gonna happen overnight for this guy. I mean, it seems like he's wanting us to pull the trigger on something that's a long way from happening. I support business development, but I sure don't want a billboard every 500 feet between the edge of town and Walmart, or certainly not any closer than that. So, I think we need to look real closely at the standards that we create if we're going to allow them.
Thank you for that, Alderman Urbis. Are there other comments regarding this from the City Council that anyone would want to express?
Yeah, this is Alderman Bratton. Go ahead, Gloria.
Thank you. Yeah, even though I am, as a business person and so forth, I do support and anything that it will bring us taxes. So, I'm not sure about having them pretty much in town. You see, and then some might be what is good for the good, and might be good for the gander too. So I'm not really sure about that. It's too close to the edge.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bratton, did you have something else?
Yes. I don't know, and Mr. Shepherd may be able to enlighten us a little bit more on it, but the way I understood from this gentleman was that he was interested and really wanted this piece of property, and I know it's a substantial amount of money he's going to be paying for it, but he wants to get busy and get the dirt work done and get it developed. It's not something that he's going to sit on for a couple of years and go. I think it's my understanding that he wanted to get started and go, with the permitting. Is that your recollection, Mr. Shepherd, or do you have a different take?
Well, it is, but one thing he kind of conveyed to me was that, without the ability to put up the billboard, he really didn't know if he was interested in the site. So that's just kind of my take from meeting with him.
Well, I think what I would say is that we do need to study this issue more. I know that doesn't help that particular developer, but I also don't want us to act too quickly, and I don't want us to be held hostage by a developer who says, well, you gotta act now. Now, whenever we seem to have a multitude of questions amongst the city council, and I have a few more questions myself. I don't want to shoot down development. I just want to make sure that we do it right, because there is a real worry that we could have a digital billboard right up adjacent to residential homes. And so I think we need to hit the pause button on this for at least one more meeting, and because we just got these other cities' ordinances in front of us, and figure out how we want to approach it. All right, well, if there's no other comment on that, we will move on into the rest of the agenda. All right, that takes us to council member requests, and I will start with Alderman Brown.
Nothing.
Alderman Pearson.
My only comment was we really need to push to get this road done out there. It's been way too long. It should have, I think the original contract said January. Mayor, if you and Harold and Manny will put some push on these people, I think you can get it done.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Mr. McCall. Mr. McCall. All right, Mr. Bratt.
I just want to mention a few things. The concrete people are doing concrete work on our sidewalks and stuff. Walnut Street or right along very nice job. Also, if you hadn't noticed, the motel, they're putting block and they've got some steel up around the elevator, and today they actually put up some wood frame walls on the east wall in that, so things are happening. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton. Mr. Pittman.
Nothing, Mayor.
Ms. Campos.
Thank you. There is just a couple of things. I just want to thank the city and police and fire department for the support. It was provided to the Murphysboro High School graduated. And to you, Mayor, for broadcasting that. I'm sure it meant a lot to a lot of families. Then the other thing is that this is for Sandra. Great job with the Murphysboro minutes. I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you. And how soon is gonna happen for us to start meeting in person? I mean, I think if we can arrange something to be at the council chambers with the proper distance, and maybe just like we have live streaming the meeting.
I can certainly review and see what could be possible. You know, the current guidelines, I think, are still at gatherings of 10 people or less. And so I want to get back to meeting in regular session as soon as possible, but I don't want to do it in a way that we would not set the best example. I feel like we aren't able to have as productive of a meeting as we do when we're in person. And so we do definitely lose something through this, but I will review what the new guidelines are to phase 3, and hopefully by the start of perhaps July, we could get to some in-person meetings. We'll just have to see.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Hughes.
I don't have anything, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Urbis.
Thank you. I was gonna ask about the sewer plant road, so I'm glad that's been discussed, and, certainly glad to see the hotel progressing very well. I guess I hesitate to ask any update on the Solar Alliance project.
No, there isn't any update there, and I am, still, of course, hopeful, and I stay in contact with those people fairly regularly, but to my knowledge, they still have not been able to get their financing together, although they say they continue to do so. I know that they have had the grass mowed once and it needs to be mowed again, so I wish I had a better update than that, but that's the update I have to give.
That's fine. I know it's a tough time for somebody trying to take out a $30 million loan.
Well, it certainly is. I know that they are close to the solar array aspect of it, and they continue to have a lot of energy, but they haven't provided much result.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Curry-Witzman.
I just wanted to say thank you to Chief McBride and Chief Elmeyer. The birthday drive-bys that have been happening in Murphysboro have been fantastic. I had the opportunity to do one for my baby last week, and all of the people that were in the parade, and including my son and myself, like, it was just a really good thing. And I just want to say thank you for thinking about trying to be like a bright spot during these uncertain times for the community. So that's all I have.
I know they both are in the council chamber and heard your comments and express your appreciation and are happy to provide that service. All right, once again, I don't believe Alderman Bastian has joined the call this evening, but I will ask Alderman Bastian. Clerk Hunziker, does that show everyone? I believe I got to everyone. Okay, with that, we will go to department heads. I'll go to Mr. Evans.
Nothing, Mayor.
Chief McBride.
Nothing, sir.
Clerk Hunziker. Mr. Manwaring.
I have nothing.
Ms. Ripley. Ms. Ripley? All right, Ms. Volley.
I have nothing, thank you.
Leandra Bryant.
Nothing, thank you.
All right. Mr. Sheffer.
Nothing further, Mayor.
Mr. Mills.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Lee.
Nothing.
Mr. Gladson?
Yeah, I would just like, when Mr. Bratton and Mr. Shepherd have a meeting with the contractor, let me know when that is, I'd like to attend.
Certainly, we'll definitely make sure that you're included in that. Attorney Blake?
Nothing.
Thank you. I believe I have gotten to everyone. Is there anyone I did not get to? Chief Ellermeyer, excuse me.
Yes, I'd like to comment also on the graduation. It was quite an experience, a great ceremony, and also thank everybody for your support on moving forward with the big effort.
Chief Ellermeyer, in case you couldn't hear him, just wanted to thank everyone for their work and participation in the graduation ceremony. Thought it came off well, and also wanted to thank everyone for their support of the vehicle and your vote on the Durango. All right, so that is the department head requests, and if there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I've got a question, Mayor Alderman Bratton.
Yes, sir.
If the Senate and the House of Representatives of the state of Illinois, were they not called back in last week?
They were. There were 4 session
Did
days.
Did they meet? If they can do that, why can't we go down to the building next to the senior citizen or seniors and have a meeting there and spread out?
They did meet. They met at the Bank of Springfield Center, which is a place sort of like the SIU Arena, where they were able to spread out the desks. The Senate met in the actual Capitol. The House met in this other place. And I'm more than happy to look at options for meeting in person as city council, and I will do so.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't think that sooner.
No, that's fine. I certainly appreciate the thought and the question.
Mayor, it's Alderman Pearson. Am I still on here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to thank Brian Manwaring for all the work he's doing on this COVID thing, and you and he have kept the city pretty well informed, and all of us are informed. We appreciate it very much. I know Brian has worked double hard on this thing, and he deserves a little bit of appreciation. That's all.
I agree with
Thank
that.
you very much.
I agree with that completely. Any other thoughts, questions from the city council before we adjourn this evening? All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you all. Have a good night.